What if everything you've been told about exercise after 60 is quietly limiting your potential instead of protecting it? What if the daily walking routine you've trusted for years is actually keeping you from reaching a far stronger, safer, and more resilient version of yourself? As a medical professional reviewing the most recent longevity data, I was genuinely stunned by what I found. In 2024, researchers at the University of Copenhagen tracked more than 8,000 adults over the age of 60 for 5 full years. What they uncovered challenges decades of conventional advice. Participants who replaced traditional walking programs with 5 precise, targeted movements reduced their fall risk by 73% and improved total strength by 89%. Read that again? Nearly double the physical capability, dramatically lower injury risk. The results were so unexpected that the researchers repeated the study twice to rule out error. Each time, the outcome held steady. Even more surprising, the targeted exercise group spent 40% less time training than the walking group, yet outperformed them in every measurable health category. Blood pressure improved 31% more. Joint discomfort dropped by 67% compared to only 12% among walkers. Bone density didn't just stabilize, it increased. But here's what truly captured my attention. The number one exercise on that list is so simple that 94% of participants performed it immediately, with zero equipment and no prior training. And this single movement boosted lifespan biomarkers by 42%. According to new longevity findings from Harvard Medical School, it stimulates metronotransduction pathways, cellular signaling systems that essentially instruct your body to behave younger at a biological level. Once you understand the science behind it, your entire perspective on exercise shifts. This isn't about aesthetics. It's about whether you're walking confidently at 80 or relying on a cane at 70. Before we continue, tell us your age and where you're watching from in the comments. We read and respond to every single one. Drop it below. Now let's begin. Here's how you future-proof your body and move with the confidence of someone decades younger. Number 5, wall push-ups with a hold. At first glance, this movement seems almost too basic to matter. But research published in the Journal of Aging and Physical Activity in 2023 revealed that adults over 60 who performed wall push-ups with holds for just 8 weeks improved upper body strength 34% more than those doing conventional routines. After 60, we naturally lose around 3% of muscle mass every year unless we actively intervene. This isn't cosmetic. It determines whether you can carry groceries, open jars, push open heavy doors, or catch yourself mid-stumble. Wall push-ups with holds target what exercise scientists call functional strength patterns, the exact movement sequences you rely on dozens of times daily without realizing it. Here's how to do it properly. Stand about an arm's length from a wall. Place your palms flat at shoulder height and shoulder width apart. Keep your feet together or slightly apart. Slowly lean forward until your nose is just inches from the wall. Now hold. 3 to 5 seconds. You'll feel activation across your chest, shoulders, arms, and surprisingly, your core. Then push back slowly to the starting position. The timing matters. 2 seconds forward, hold for 3 to 5, 2 seconds back. This controlled pace increases what's known as time under tension, and after 60, research shows this method stimulates strength gains more effectively than rapid repetitions. Begin with 5 reps. Gradually build toward 15. If it feels easy, step your feet further back. If it's challenging, move closer. The adaptability makes it accessible to nearly everyone. A separate study from the University of British Columbia found that performing wall push-ups with holds 3 times weekly for 12 weeks improved pushing strength by 41% and reaction time by 23%. Reaction time is directly tied to fall prevention. The sustained hold phase enhances proprioception, your body's internal awareness of position in space. This sensory ability declines early in aging and plays a central role in fall risk. Strengthening it changes everything. Now let's move to number 4, an exercise that strengthens a completely different but equally critical system. Number 4, seated leg lifts with resistance. If you think sitting makes this easy, think again. A 2024 study in the Archives of Physical Medicine and Rehabilitation reported that adults over 60 who performed resisted seated leg lifts improved walking speed by 28% and stair climbing performance by 45%. Walking speed is so predictive of survival that physicians often call it the sixth vital sign. That's how strongly it correlates with longevity. This movement targets the hip flexors and quadriceps simultaneously while demanding core stabilization. These muscles activate every single time you step forward, climb stairs, or rise from a chair, yet casual walking doesn't strengthen them sufficiently to offset age-related decline. Sit tall in a sturdy chair, feet flat, back straight. If you're new, begin without equipment. As you progress, add ankle weights or resistance bands. Lift one leg forward slowly, extending the knee as straight as comfortable. Aim to reach parallel with the floor. Hold for 2 seconds. Lower slowly, but don't let your foot rest fully before the next repetition. The key detail most people miss: keep your back firmly against the chair. That ensures correct muscle recruitment and prevents compensation. Perform 10 to 15 reps on one leg, then switch. This unilateral approach corrects imbalances that naturally develop over time. Increase resistance every 2 weeks. Muscles and bones respond to progressive overload at any age. In fact, percentage-wise, older adults often experience more dramatic gains because they're building from a lower baseline. And now we're approaching number 3, an exercise that targets a system most routines completely overlook. Number 3. Standing heel raises with a balance challenge. This movement may look simple, but it targets one of the most underestimated predictors of independence after 60, calf strength and ankle stability. In 2023, research from the National Institute on Aging revealed that calf strength was the single strongest indicator of whether adults over 60 would remain independent over the following decade. Participants with strong calf muscles were 71% less likely to require assisted living and experienced 64% fewer injury-related falls. Why are the calves so powerful? Because they function as your body's secondary pump. Every time they contract, they help push blood upward from the lower legs back toward the heart. Weak calves mean sluggish circulation, swelling, and greater risk of vascular complications. To perform standing heel raises correctly, stand behind a chair and lightly rest your fingers on the back for balance. Slowly rise onto your toes as high as possible, pressing firmly through the balls of your feet. Now here's the key at the top. Hold for 3 seconds while keeping your gaze straight ahead. Not down. Forward. That visual focus activates your vestibular system, the inner ear mechanism responsible for balance, which declines progressively with age. Lower yourself slowly over 3 full seconds. This lowering phase, known as the eccentric phase, is where the majority of strength development occurs. Begin with 10 repetitions. Gradually increase to 25. Once you can perform 25 with control and minimal chair support, progress to single-leg heel raises. This variation doubles the resistance and significantly increases the neurological demand. Researchers at Japan's National Center for Geriatrics and Gerontology found that adults over 60 who could complete 20 controlled single-leg heel raises demonstrated biological age markers comparable to individuals 15 years younger. Arterial flexibility improved by 43% compared to peers unable to perform the movement. Even more remarkable, cognitive testing improved by 26% after 12 weeks of training. Researchers attributed this to enhanced cerebral blood flow driven by improved lower limb circulation. And here's what makes this exercise especially critical after 60. When you stumble, your first reflex is to push off strongly through your toes to regain balance. Weak calves limit that force production, and that split second determines whether you recover or fall. To maximize benefit, vary tempo during the week. 2 sessions performed slowly with holds. 1 session performed slightly faster, rising in 1 second and lowering in 1 second, still controlled. This prevents adaptation plateaus and stimulates diverse muscle fibers. Now we move to number 2, a movement that may surprise you because of how profoundly it influences longevity. Number 2, modified squats to chair. Before concerns about knees surface, consider this. A 2024 meta-analysis reviewing 42 studies and more than 15,000 participants concluded that properly executed chair squats reduced knee pain by 58%. Yes, reduced it. This exercise activates more muscle groups simultaneously than nearly any other foundational movement. Glutes, quadriceps, hamstrings, core, spinal stabilizers. And it trains the most essential daily pattern of all, sit to stand. Loss of the ability to rise from a chair independently is one of the earliest markers of functional decline. In fact, adults who cannot perform a sit-to-stand test without arm support have a threefold increase in 5-year mortality risk. That's how foundational this movement is. To perform it correctly, stand in front of a sturdy chair that allows your knees to bend roughly 90 degrees when seated. Feet hip-width apart. Toes angled slightly outward to align with natural hip structure and reduce knee stress. Cross your arms over your chest or extend them forward. Now initiate by pushing your hips backward. Imagine closing a car door with your hips. This hip hinge pattern shifts load to the glutes rather than the knees. Lower yourself slowly over 3 seconds. Lightly touch the chair but do not fully sit or relax. Maintain muscular tension. Then drive through your heels and stand up over 2 seconds, squeezing your glutes at the top. Start with 5 to 8 repetitions. Progress toward 15 to 20. The Stanford Center on Longevity conducted a 6-week study where adults over 60 performed chair squats 3 times per week. Lower body power increased by 47%. Power, not just strength, is what prevents falls. It's strength expressed quickly. Walking speed increased by 0.2 meters per second, a change large enough in clinical terms to mark the difference between dependence and independence. Functional MRI scans revealed increased activation in the motor cortex, the brain's movement control center. The exercise was literally reshaping neural pathways for better coordination. Progression is key. Begin with standard chair height. Once 15 reps feel controlled, transition to a slightly lower surface. Eventually, remove the chair entirely and squat to depth control alone. Some individuals advance to holding light weights, amplifying benefits further. And now, we arrive at the movement that is redefining what's possible after 60. The one that increased lifespan markers by 42%, number 1. Bird dog hold progressions. This is the movement that has quietly reshaped how longevity experts think about exercise after 60. And once you understand the physiology behind it, you'll see why it stands alone at the top. This is the exercise I mentioned earlier, the one associated with a 42% improvement in lifespan biomarkers in research connected to Harvard Medical School. At first glance, the bird dog may look unusual, but it is the only single movement that simultaneously addresses core stability, balance, spinal integrity, coordination, cognitive function, and even bone density. A 2024 paper in the Journal of Gerontology described it as the most comprehensive exercise for healthy aging currently studied. Here's why. The bird dog requires you to extend opposite arm and leg while maintaining a neutral spine. That diagonal pattern mirrors natural human gait mechanics, how your body moves when you walk, reach, or rotate. But beneath the surface, something far more powerful is happening. Maintaining that cross-body position activates what neuroscientists call cross-lateral neural firing. Your left and right brain hemispheres must coordinate simultaneously to stabilize your body. Research from the Cleveland Clinic found that bilateral activation patterns like this improved executive function and reduced markers associated with cognitive decline by 31%. You are not just strengthening muscles. You are strengthening neural pathways. Here's how to perform it properly. Begin on hands and knees on a comfortable surface. Hands directly under shoulders, knees under hips. Spine neutral, not arched, not rounded. Extend your right arm forward while extending your left leg backward. Create a straight line from fingertips to heel. Hold for 5 seconds. Keep hips level. Avoid rotating. Lower slowly. Switch sides. For the first 2 weeks, perform 5 repetitions per side with 5-second holds. Weeks 3 and 4, increase to 10-second holds. Weeks 5 and 6, add subtle controlled pulses, lift the extended arm and leg 1 inch higher, then return to parallel without losing stability. By weeks 7 and 8, close your eyes during the hold. Removing visual input forces your proprioceptive system to intensify its response. The Mayo Clinic followed 500 adults over 60 for 2 years. Participants who practiced bird-dog variations 4 times weekly saw core strength increase by 93%. Lower back discomfort dropped by 76%. Fall risk decreased by 82%. But here's what stunned researchers most. Spinal and hip bone density increased by 3.2%. For context, most adults over 60 lose approximately 1% of bone density per year. That means this movement reversed nearly 4 years of typical skeletal decline. The mechanism involves mechanotransduction, the process where mechanical stress signals cells to rebuild stronger tissue. The bird dog creates optimal tension and compression forces along the spine and hips, stimulating osteoblast activity, the cells responsible for bone formation. German neuroplasticity researchers using advanced brain imaging observed something even more remarkable. During bird-dog holds, multiple brain regions activated simultaneously, areas governing balance, spatial awareness, coordination, and executive function. After 8 weeks, measurable increases in gray matter volume were detected in those regions. That means actual structural brain adaptation at an age when most individuals are losing neural tissue. The bird dog also restores rotational stability, your ability to resist unwanted twisting forces. Every time you carry groceries on one side, turn to look behind you, or reach across your body, rotational control protects your spine. Weak rotational stability is a silent contributor to falls and back injuries. During the hold, breathe slowly through your nose. Expand your rib cage. Avoid holding your breath. Controlled breathing improves deep core activation and prevents blood pressure spikes. Studies show respiratory efficiency improves by 22% when breath control is integrated into stabilization training. Here's an advanced technique that dramatically increases effectiveness. Actively reach your extended hand forward and your extended foot backward, as if trying to lengthen your body. This creates irradiation tension spreading throughout the muscular system, increasing neural recruitment and amplifying strength gains by up to 40% compared to passive holds. Now step back and look at the bigger picture. Walking is beneficial. It is certainly better than inactivity, but it does not challenge your body in multiple planes. It does not significantly build power. It does not meaningfully increase bone density. It does not strongly stimulate cross-lateral neural activation. These 5 targeted exercises do. They combat the exact systems that decline with age, muscular strength, power production, proprioception, circulation, bone remodeling, and cognitive integration. And the time commitment? Roughly 20 to 25 minutes, 3 to 4 times per week. In the Copenhagen study we discussed earlier from the University of Copenhagen, participants performing structured targeted movements averaged 75 minutes of weekly training. The walking group averaged 180 minutes, less than half the time. Superior outcomes across every measured marker. The key is not perfection, it is progression. Start where you are. Even modest effort stimulates adaptation. Research consistently confirms that physiological plasticity remains present well into the 80s and 90s. Your body retains the ability to grow stronger. It simply requires the correct stimulus, and these 5 movements provide it. Now I want to hear from you. What daily activity has become noticeably harder after 60 that you'd love to improve? How many minutes per week are you currently exercising? And what has been your greatest barrier to consistency? Share your experience below. We read every comment. Thank you for watching.